Today is a special day because Zauntee is joining the show. Zauntee, good morning. Good to get to meet you here today.
Oh, good to be here. Thank y'all so much for having me.
Yes, of course. We're really excited. We've got the new single, God Had Other Plans. We're going to play that here in just a moment. But Zauntee, the first thing I have to ask is, I gather that you got started with your music career, it looks like at a really young age. Is that right?
Yeah, I was writing songs when I was 10. I think my first song I wrote on a napkin from Krispy Kreme. And then I started producing when I was 14 years old, just kind of like watching YouTube, learning how to make beats, getting better at it, and put my first song out when I was 17 years old, like right at the end of high school.
Dang. So when did you do your first show?
The first show, so like 16, 17 years old, I would drive like 3 hours, 2 hours to get out to like open mics or like be an opener on a show where there's probably 10 people in the room. My first show, I would say, was like the church that I was going to in Tampa, Florida at the time. Shout out Grace Family Church. They're amazing. Still have a lot of love for those guys. They, without really even knowing me, they had seen that I was starting to do music and they just believed in it. They bought in, and they had a youth camp that had 1,000 kids at it. And they were like, look, we want you to come up and do a few songs. And I was so nervous, bro, like game day nerves. Because I went from like 10 people to 1,000 people. And that, I consider that my first show. The picture of it is still on my Instagram near the bottom, just going out there in front of all those kids. And what's crazy is they lost it. Like, it was one of the, still to this day, the most high energy shows I ever did, age 17. And it kind of solidified, like, yeah, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Dang. I bet you some people have some cool stories about that being, like they saw you at your first show ever. That'd be pretty cool.
Dude, what's funny too is like a couple of my homies from Tampa, like Micah, Tyrell, Zay, they were all there and supporting me at that show. And they've still been a part of the journey even to now. Like, anytime I'm out in Tampa, they'll usually pull up and just show love. So it's kind of crazy too, because they remember like being in the audience and watching everybody like in shock, like, oh, this is actually good. And then I start turning.
No, that's awesome too, especially like when you think about when you're first starting out in music. A lot of your audience are like your friends and your family, and obviously they're gonna say like, "Oh, you're so good," and then when you get in front of like an actual audience, you don't know how it's gonna go, and so to get that kind of affirmation like right when you get up there and the crowd getting into it, I'm sure that helped ease the nerves a little bit.
Exactly, bro. No, once I saw, like, after the first beat drop and I saw everybody was in it, I mean, there's a video, it's also near like the bottom of my Instagram, but there's a video of them like starting to get into it during the intro song, like, hey. And I remember vividly starting to feel it like pick up, like, oh shoot, like they're with this. But it's funny because you go from, your bedroom and 10 people shows and mostly family and friends. So you have no idea how it's going to land. And I've seen other artists where they'll go into that moment and it doesn't land. So that's where the nerves come from. It's like, what is this going to be like?
That's what happened to me. So. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm glad you're here today, bro.
Zauntee, I also want to know then, from starting at such a young age, like now you've been doing it a while. What areas do you think you've changed and grown the most as an artist since your early days?
My stamina is a big thing that has just grown year by year. It just stacks. Like, the ability to always be present is something that I've learned. Because early on, you can kind of have the attitude of like, just being a rookie, it's like you're excited about all of it, but things are kind of flying past you and you get fatigued more. I learned the value early on. In about probably year 1 or 2, there was some tours that I was a part of where I wasn't able to like go have a fan meet and greet, or I wasn't able to sell merch. So now I get an opportunity to do a fan meet and greet. I'm not leaving until I say hi to every single person, because I understand the value of it and that stamina, like being there with every human being and being grateful for them making the opportunity for me to do music, stuff like that you don't have when you start. You kind of, you're focused on the music and you're excited, but now I can literally, like, no matter how long that line is, I'm present. No matter how many delays happen before a set, I'm able to go into that set and be focused and be all the way there. Watching the Michael Jordan documentary, it's interesting. He said the thing that made him the greatest was his ability to be present. So I'd say that's probably what's changed the most. And also just maturity, man. Like, I have more stories now. I have more experience. I've seen a lot more. I mean, this is year 6. So coming up on 7. So it's stamina and maturity. And honestly, the live show too, bro. I feel like it gets better every time. You're taking more reps. So I think me now has a better live show than when I started. And every show I have, I think it'll just get better and better.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of the experience. It just keeps showing up.
Yep.
I love you talking about too, like you being present, and as you've matured in performing, even when you talk about like being there, especially for the listeners and all your fans and stuff. It's not even like in the beginning, like you didn't want to like love your fans and be there for them. It's just like when you're in that moment, it's almost like survival at the concert and trying to get through, where now you're like more of a point where like I can thrive in this. Like this is my thing. I own it. I'm able to like talk with the fans and make their experience, because they're the ones that make it all happen, make their experience as good as possible.
Exactly, bro. Survival is the perfect word for it. When you start as a new artist, you're just like trying to get past each moment and like hoping you don't mess it up. Versus now it's like, how can I make the most of each of these moments? Like we'll be on stage and we'll, I'll turn over to Goose, who like does content with me. And literally during the concert, we'll have cues of like, okay, yeah, let's capture this content while we're still like fully present, turning up with the fans. It's just like you get better at it as time goes on.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I recently saw another artist that he came in and saw your show recently, which is a huge artist. His name's Bobby Shmurda. Our fans may not be as familiar with him as some people are, but he's a huge artist in the hip hop industry. Talk about how you got introduced to Bobby and like catching an eye as big as he is to come out to your show, and he was listening to God Other Plans and stuff. That's really incredible to see him out there.
Dude, that was a crazy moment because it kind of all fell into place pretty fast. There's more content that we'll be posting kind of later on within the next couple of weeks, involving some of our interactions. But basically, I had some friends that I've been working with and building with behind the scenes, and they were pretty much like, look, we know Bobby, and he wants to come to town. And when he's in town, we want him to pull up to the show. He wants to pull up to the show. So they were like, can we make it happen? So he pulls up with a couple of his team members, and they're kind of rolling deep. And I go out to the parking lot. I'm just like, hey, what's up, man? It's great to meet you. And he was like, it's in the clip on my Instagram. He's like, I came all the way from New York to see you, bro. Like, basically, don't mess it up. Like, and I'm like, okay, cool, no pressure. Now I just felt this joy. Like, I know God is going to show up. He wouldn't bring somebody into this moment and not carry it for me. He wouldn't, not help me. I knew God was going to show up because he obviously wanted Bobby in that room to hear something about his name. And it's funny because I wasn't supposed to go on for another 2 hours, my set. I go up to the promoter and I'm like, yo, look, man, please do me this favor. All right. Bobby Shmurda's in the building. He's trying to hear my set. This is an opportunity to minister to him. It's going to turn up the crowd. Like, just can we do whatever we got to do to have me come up and do a couple songs now? And I'll still do my full set. I'll still headline. I'll still meet and greet with everybody afterwards. I promise I got you. Just like, can we pivot and say it's a preview for later in the night? And he was like, okay, we can do it. And he's like, Bobby, he didn't believe me at first that Bobby was there. So, no, look, bro, you can go outside. You'll see him right now. So he went out there. Cool, bet we can do this. But it was a wild experience because we ended up going to the studio afterwards too. And I'm going to post about that later. And I was able to play him songs like Oxygen and stuff. And because he wanted to hear some more of the stuff. And bro, we were actually worshiping in that room. And I had an opportunity to pray with him. The Holy Spirit showed up. We got a word for him, and he was emotional in that moment. So it's crazy how like it started out as, I want to see the show, to, hey, we're going to be at the studio afterwards. You want to pull up? And then my motto that I'll text with some of my homies when God gives opportunities is bring Jesus in the rooms. So me and Goose going into that studio session is definitely a very secular environment. You'll see in the clips when we post it, there's a lot of, people are smoking. There's a lot of bottles. There's girls in the room. We go in and we're like, okay, how do we represent Jesus and bring light to the dark place? Because that's what Christ did. That's what our calling is as believers, to be in the world and not of it. And we pulled up and we represented him. And other people in the studio even came up and thanked me afterwards, like, hey, this brought me closer to God, and I appreciate you playing something different than what we're used to in this environment. So the only reason I talk about that stuff is because there's a 17-year-old kid somewhere who's going to listen to our conversation today, and they're going to feel inspired to represent Jesus at their school or on their sports team or even in their family or their friend group. So that's the only reason we document anyways, is like, if I can do it, you can do it too. If God can use Zauntee, how much can he use you in the place God has placed you? That's why we talk about it. Like the Bobby Shmurda thing, I'm not enamored. He's definitely accomplished a lot and I respect him, but we're talking about it because we want people to have the courage to represent Jesus no matter who they talk to.
That's right. That's a word. Zauntee, we're about to play God Had Other Plans. Give us the background. Tell us about the song.
Bro, that verse is literally the headspace that I was in when I was writing this. I was thinking back to, because like I wrote God Had Other Plans after a lot of really cool stuff happened. Like Hard Work God First was going crazy. A lot of opportunities were falling into my lap. And then I was like, okay, I want to write a song that pretty much thanks God and what I just said, encourages people who are watching my story and inspires them. Like, if Zauntee is living this, maybe it's possible for me. So that verse, like I remember waking up, I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't know how to get from A to B with visions in my head. Like there was a point in the beginning of 2021 where I literally felt like I couldn't move with just how discouraged and how frustrated I was with the point I was at in my music career, because I had, age 17, dropped God Taught Me, dropped a mixtape, all these labels calling me, a lot of momentum, shows all the time, right? And then, signing with a company who didn't quite get it and kind of being on the bench for a little bit and having to figure that out. And God used all that to teach me things and help me learn so I'd be ready for these moments. And then COVID happens and all your tour dates get canceled and you're just, stuck with a company that doesn't get the vision / you can't go out and do shows. And so top of 21 comes around and I'm just like, I'm discouraged. I'm stuck. I literally can't see a way out. I can't release music. I can't do any shows. I'm discouraged. And I'm literally crying out to God, like, what am I supposed to do? Because I'm at a complete dead end. Is this it? Is it over for me? Was the Zauntee music story just some stuff going really well in the beginning and then just it's done? And I really thought I was at the end of it, bro. I remember posting things and just even seeing like, I don't know, it felt like nobody cared. It felt like the momentum was completely gone. And so I started praying this prayer every day. God, I trust you no matter what. Like, I just want to serve you. I trust you no matter what. Even when I didn't feel it, over and over, I trust you, God. And he gave me the vision, like, hey, we're going to step into a new era. This era is going to be the We Follow Jesus era. Like, he showed me the hoodie design. He started giving me ideas for the Stonebrook project. And then I started feeling this like courage again, like I'm going to go. And 21, fast forward to 2023, everything for that comeback, like sitting here now, things, better than they've ever been before. More people being reached, more momentum, more opportunities. If I had quit when I was at my lowest, where I just really felt like, yeah, this is done, the people who are receiving from this message, hearing this music, whether it be some listener in his bedroom or it's Bobby Shmurda, right? All of those people wouldn't have heard what they needed to hear in 2023 if I had quit when it was different. So God Had Other Plans. It's a short song. It's a simple song, but that's what it is. It's like, I really thought I was done. I was ready to give up. And I'm so glad that I didn't, because God is the one who controls our future. And I've had people DM me and text me in our text community and comment on posts that like this song has been the anthem for them while they're still in it.
Yep.
Or they're a survivor and they can relate. And I wanted to make a song. Hard Work God First is that motivation for when you're in it. But I wanted to make a song for everybody who survived something or who is like 3 feet from gold. They've been digging a long time and they're really ready to give up. But if they would go forward just a little bit more, they're going to hit what God has for them. That's what the song is about. And I think when people listen to it, they can feel it, even though it's a short song. It's like, it packs a punch. So I thought it was over. God had other plans.
All right, Zauntee. We wish you all the best. We glad to see your success, and hope people can keep on being reached through you. We'll play the new song, God Had Other Plans. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. And remember, all of us have stories we can tell. I said this every show, by the way. We have stories only we can tell and gifts only we can give. Our survival is proof to someone else that they can make it. So it's our responsibility to use our gifts and stories to represent Jesus.
If you like that video, there's a ton more. Go check out our past videos and subscribe so you don't miss what we do next.